right, so we are here to talk really quickly about a couple of I can statements that have to do with apoptosis. So, apoptosis is programmed cell death. It is basically where a cell gets a signal that says it needs to die and it takes it upon itself to kill itself, basically. So, it is programmed, so it is not accidental, and it is going to lead in that cell dying. Now, why would we want to do this? There's a couple of reasons, and this kind of goes into so the first was I can define apoptosis, and so that's how you would define it. It is programmed or not accidental cell death. It also is a response to a cell signaling pathway. So the cell does have to receive a signal either from inside. So if maybe its DNA is damaged, then it may signal, hey, we need to just die. This DNA damage is too bad to fix. Or it could be a signal from another cell. And so we'll talk about that in just a second. But it's going to receive that signal. It's going to go through transduction, and the response is going to be to start producing these enzymes you can see here on this PowerPoint called caspases. And those are what we call suicide proteins that are going to cause the cell to start breaking down. It puts pieces, as the cell breaks down, it puts those pieces in vesicles, and then those vesicles get digested by nearby cells. And that process is called blebbing, which is just kind of a fun word. You don't think scientists come up with fun words. That's kind of a fun word. So why do we do it? I can explain the importance of apoptosis. There's a couple of times that apoptosis is going to be a good thing. One is if the DNA is damaged, because damaged DNA can lead to diseases like cancer. And so if we have a cell whose DNA is damaged to the point of it's going to be too much energy or it's not possible to repair it all, then that cell needs to die so that it doesn't go through mitosis and pass that damaged DNA down to daughter cells. And so that's one thing. You could have some proteins or some enzymes that have gone wackadoodle and are starting to create havoc in the cell, to create problems for the cell. And the cell says, you know what? It's not worth it. These proteins, if I divide and go through mitosis, then there are going to be 2 cells with these proteins, and then 4 cells with these proteins. So I'm just going to stop it right here, and so it will end that cell line by dying. Another time is if a cell is infected. So when your immune cell or your immune system is going around checking cells, if it comes upon a cell that is infected, it will kill that cell, or it will tell that cell to kill itself, either way, because it wants to quarantine that infection. So that's another good way or reason we would do apoptosis. And another is when you were developing, you had webbing between your fingers, and you had a tail, and you had webbing between your toes, and you don't have that anymore. So, and I know we still have like a little bit down at the end, but I'm talking about your hands were like mittens. And so to go from being a mitten to a glove, so to speak, we had to get rid of all of that webbing between our fingers and our toes, and we had to get rid of our tail. And all of that happened by apoptosis. So those are just some of the reasons apoptosis is important. However, the last I can statement is I can explain the importance of regulating apoptosis. Because it is going to lead in the cell dying, we don't want that to happen unless we absolutely need it to happen. Like I said, there are times it is good, but when a cell goes through apoptosis and it didn't need to, that's not good, because that cell had a job to do. And if it's not there anymore, it's not doing that job. And so we want to be able to regulate it so that we can make it happen when we need it to, because that's a good thing, but also keep it from happening when we don't want it to, because that's also a good thing. And so just being able to regulate it is going to allow us to control when we push that apoptosis gas pedal or when we hit the apoptosis brake, to either make it happen or not happen. And so anytime you have a really important process like apoptosis, it is very important that it's controlled, and it only happens when we need it to. And so that is just a quick overview of apoptosis, why it's important, and why it's important to regulate it. If you have any questions, let me know.